Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about my K-pop unpopular opinions. And before we start the video, I just want to say that I don't want to make anybody angry or offended by my opinion, and you are totally free to disagree with my opinions, just be respectful of them. And with that being said, let's start the video. 1. K-pop has lost its meaning. I don't know if it's just me, but I believe that back then all K-pop was about was making music and making everyone happy. But nowadays all it's about is visuals, plastic surgery, unhealthy diets and many other toxic things in K-pop, and I feel like K-pop's main goal now is to look beautiful instead of being talented. Now I know that K-pop still wants and appreciates talent. I get that. But the thing is that they seem like they care about looks more, like that's the main thing that makes you successful. I'm sorry honey, but K-pop idols are not training their ass off for a Vogue fashion show. They're doing it for the passion of music. And I also might make a video about this topic, but I'm not sure, so let me know in the comments if anyone will be willing to. 2. K-pop stans have more power over their idols than the idols themselves. I think everyone knows by now that K-pop stans are one of the most toxic, controlling, spoiled, abusing people I've ever crossed paths with. Of course not all K-pop stans are like this. I damn well ain't. But most of them are, and it just rots my teeth how some of you toxic K-pop stans love to take advantage of your idols, because you know that if they don't do what you say, you can possibly in their career or maybe even their life. Like, do y'all know how disgusting that is? Do you know that some of the shit you do you can get arrested for? Like, do y'all ever learn your lessons? Do y'all even once put yourself in an idol's perspective and how hard it is to be quote unquote perfect? No you don't, and maybe you should before you ever say anything dirty to an idol. Y'all make me feel ashamed of being a K-pop stan, and I shouldn't have to feel that way over some music. 3. I feel like smut fanfics are just fine to a certain extent. I know a lot of people might disagree with me, and I don't blame you. Sexualization is terrible and it should never be a thing to normalize. But I feel like a smut fanfic will be perfectly fine if the idol is of legal age, having sexual desire for someone of legal age, they're given consent, if the book actually has a plot to it and not just about sex, and if they are enjoying it in the book, then that's totally fine. Because I feel like smut for some people can actually add something to a good book. But like I said earlier, it's okay to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is when you try to normalize forced sex, pedophilia, kidnapping, incest, molestation, and sexual harassment and treating it like a kink, then an actual matter is disgusting and extremely disrespectful to people like me who has gone through some of the things y'all write in these smut fanfics for your entertainment. And some people might say that this is a coping mechanism. I'm sorry, but reading about someone getting raped for entertainment is not a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism is something like making fun of your past or looking at the bright side of things. This is not. And by the way, if these fanfics are your coping mechanism, then that's totally fine. I'm not judging you at all. But me personally, I would not want to read about something like that because that will just give me bad memories. And it's fine if you're including things like that in your book. Film writers do the same thing. Just make sure that you're not writing about it for fun. Don't condone the stuff. And please don't get the idol involved, for God's sake. 4. The visual position isn't that terrible. Yes, the visual position can be really toxic. A lot of people would see you as perfect and people would view you as talentless. But there are pros about being in the visual position. For one, you'll get complimented for your looks a lot, and for some people this can be annoying, but I would view this as amazing because sometimes people like me struggles with insecurity. And I feel like getting compliments on your looks is great for the idol's self-esteem. And secondly, you'll get a lot of promotions. Now this also ties into some cons about being a visual because the members would have some sort of jealousy for you. But you'll be the most popular member in the group and probably get some shots in modeling. But sometimes the visuals are also the least popular member in some groups. So overall, being a visual is not that bad as people make it out to be, but yes, it's still very toxic and shouldn't matter in the group's quality of music. 5. Queerbaiting in K-pop should stop and it shouldn't be ignored. As a person a part of the LGBT community, I find it highly offensive to use gay or lesbian scenes as an aesthetic. Of course your idol can kiss their members whether they are gay or not, since it's only skinship. And I feel like if you're using it in your MVs to spread a message of being proud of your sexuality or you're making a storyline, then that's totally fine, because yet again, Filmmakers do the same thing. But if you're using it for aesthetic purposes, then I think it's disrespectful. A good example of people queerbaiting has to be the Queen's Red Velvet. When I seen the MV for Monster, I just felt really uncomfortable how they're using lesbian relationships for an aesthetic. Especially when I seen the behind the scenes and they look so uncomfortable, like you can obviously smell the ignorance. Now I love Red Velvet, but you cannot lie that was unacceptable. And the sad thing about it is when these things happen, I barely see any actual gay people talk about this. Gay relationships are now finally getting the respect it deserves, and now people want to use it for money. Literally shame on you. 6. I wish K-pop would be more accepting of diversity. I understand why a lot of people would disagree with this opinion. Yes, K-pop is a way to make East Asians shine in the West without acting like a stereotypical East Asian person that's a nerd, good at karate, and has this thick Chinese accent. But the thing is, K-pop is heavily influenced by Western culture and music, especially black culture. So saying that K-pop should only be for East Asians, then you let them do hip-hop and other genres made in the West. Like, that doesn't add up. Let me use an example so you could understand where I'm coming from. Me, a black person who loves black music and black rappers, then I see a music genre made in Korea, using my culture and music, and I make a tweet on Twitter saying hip-hop and R&B should only be for black people. And the same K-pop stans that gatekeep would say to me that hip-hop is for everyone and race shouldn't matter and call me a racist, etc., etc. But if we do K-pop, we would get hated on and people would start saying that we're taking away East Asian representation. Did you know that hip-hop was for black representation? Yet y'all don't have a problem with other races doing it, but not when it comes to K-pop. You see how that doesn't make sense? Why gatekeep this but not gatekeep the other? And the sad thing is that most of these comments come from international fans that aren't even Korean. Funny, because most actual Koreans don't have a problem with it and some actually encourages it. So why are international fans gatekeeping it? It's so heartbreaking that things like this have to be an opinion and not a fact. We're so blind at what race should or shouldn't do a certain type of thing instead of focusing on equality and that we can all shine in everything. You get to use and profit off my music, so why can't we? 7. There should be more feminism in K-pop and less misogyny. This opinion low-key makes me want to cry, because in a world like this, equality for all is viewed more as a silly dream than taken seriously, especially in K-pop. And I can tell that some of these K-pop female idols would love to address the misogyny that not only happens in Korea, but everywhere in the world. But they know they will get a lot of backlash for doing so because being a feminist is viewed very terribly. And most of the things y'all call female empowerment in K-pop is actually them getting sexualized and or queerbaiting. We barely see any actual feminism happen in K-pop. And whenever it happens, it's heavily judged on by sensitive men who are misogynistic or don't understand what the real meaning of feminism is because of all these sexist women that think their gender is superior. An example of feminism and misogyny in K-pop can be the one controversy when Joy from Red Velvet wore a shirt that had a feminist quote that was, by the way, speaking facts. But no, the privileged men can't take it when people comment on their shit. So she was heavily judged by the Korean public about her shirt, saying that it was quote unquote inappropriate and she's begging for attention. Like, no, she's not, sir. She's talking about an issue that you clearly don't understand at all, and that's why you don't want to hear it, not because it's inappropriate. And many more examples that I can use, but I am low-key thinking about making a video about this topic, so let me know in the comments. And by the way, you want to know the sad part? The only group that most people could think of that's openly a feminist is Red Velvet, and only Red Velvet. You know how sad that is? How sad it is that you can't even talk about an issue that's really important because of the public. Fuck all the misogynistic men, and be a proud feminist. Period. 8. So Yeon's rapping is not that good as people make it out to be. Yes, So Yeon's rapping is way better than most female rappers in K-pop. But is she the best in the business? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Most of the time she's offbeat, and she sometimes raps too fast in segments of songs where you don't have to, and you can tell that she some of the time pays more attention to rapping fast than the flow. And I honestly prefer her singing more than her rapping, because it's almost like she and Neverlands think that rapping fast makes you a good rapper. Yes, rapping fast is a pretty talented trait that has some aspects to being a pretty good rapper, but that's not the main trait, and I don't think her and Neverlands quite understand that. but overall she's still a pretty good rapper. I just feel like she needs a little more improvement. 9. The HWA MV should have had more of a East Asian culture inspired theme. I don't know if it's just me or not, but when I first heard the song I was thinking to myself, the music video would have been 10 times better it had a East Asian culture theme to it. Now as you watch the MV, you could tell that they had a little bit of a mixture of East Asian culture but not really. I feel like if it was a mix of Korean culture, Thai culture, and most definitely Chinese culture, then the MV would get tons of love from the beauty of both cultures being displayed on our devices. And did you tell how I thought each foreign member can express their culture? Funny because that actually moves on to my next opinion. 10. I feel like foreign idols in K-pop should express their culture and language in their songs and MVs. I don't know about you, but I've never seen any MV or song that expresses a foreign idol's culture and language. Now I don't know if it's because they might get heavily judged by K-nets for showing their own culture, but all I got to say to that is a simple fuck off. And how would you feel if someone shamed your culture or language because you want to express that? You literally sound like an ignorant American. But besides the hate, I truly feel like it would be beautiful and lovely to see a foreign idol express their culture and language in an MV or song. Like when I watched the MV to How You Like That and seen Lisa wearing a hanbok, I thought to myself, it would have been really cool to see her wear a chut tie on. Now don't get me wrong, Lisa looked absolutely stunning in that hanbok, but deep down I felt like if she would have worn a custom-made chut tie at her rap part in the MV, while she used Thai words at the end of her lyrics, and she was in a background filled with Thai architecture, then I would have had a seizure on the ground. Like, think about how beautiful that would have been. We literally need to tell companies to do this. Facts. 11. Stop mentioning BTS with every K-pop group. A lot of K-pop stans, especially American interviewers, love to bring up BTS with everything and anything that has to do with K-pop. I'm sorry, but BTS aren't the creators of K-pop, so why bring them up with anything and everything K-pop? Yes, they popularized it, but that doesn't give you the right to make these idols be in an awkward position and a low-key disrespectful one. For example, there was a time NCT 127 was interviewed and the interviewer started calling them the next BTS, and you could obviously tell they weren't having it. And it not only makes the idols feel worthless in the Western industry, but it also gets them a lot of hate from toxic armies. And this might come off as I'm a BTS anti, but I just want to tell you I'm not a BTS anti, in fact I'm an army. But I just want all these K-pop idols to shine in their own spotlight and not in BTS's. After all, these K-pop groups don't compare to BTS, and you want to know why? Because BTS is BTS and no one can be BTS no matter how hard you try to make another BTS. It just won't work nor feel the same because BTS is themselves, not anyone else, and this goes to any other K-pop group alive. So why do y'all even bring them up when it comes to any K-pop group? I think it's because y'all ignorant privileged Americans think that there should be only one famous K-pop group and that's BTS. Like, no wonder why people hate armies. It's because some of y'all think BTS should only be at the top while other K-pop groups kiss their feet and be their peasant, which is terrible. I'm pretty sure BTS wouldn't even want y'all toxic armies doing that. So why do you do it? Probably to fill your ego. And to that I say sad. Absolutely sad. And that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, that would really mean a lot to me. See you later, sweethearts.